Now, these are the names of possibly the 130 most powerful people on Earth. And they've got one other thing in common. They're members of the Bilderberg group. In an era of open access and transparency, it's something of an anachronism. Every year, the Bilderberg group brings together the world's most influential people to discuss in private issues of importance to Europe and North America. Now, often the venue is somewhere rather glamorous, but this year it's being held just outside Watford, as Katie Razzle reports.
Watford, north of London, a strategic regional hub with a familiar high street. But Watford is the setting for a clandestine top security event. Up to now, amongst this town's claims to fame, it's the birthplace of Jerry Halliwell. Who'd have thought of Watford as the place where a new world order is being created? In the grounds of a hotel, they sing of being free.
Wake up, people, now. Get up and break your chains.
These people believe the Bilderberg group is a conspiracy, and they weren't exactly applauding arriving guests. The secretive invitation-only group has been holding annual private meetings in the world's hotels since 1954. St Moritz one year, Istanbul the next, now Watford.
They are a global financial elite. I would use a slightly different phrase, an anti-democratic cabal. This is a conclave of people who do come all from the same background. That is the ruling group in Western capitalism. And they have come here to concert their plans. There will be intense lobbying going on.
But just like at every other Bilderberg meeting, we're unlikely to find out what's said at the three-day event. The billionaires, politicians, bankers and European royalty, 130 in all, always agree a vow of silence.
There's no transparency towards it. They've been doing it for years and years now, and enough's enough. People want to know what's going on, what they're talking about. It's not fair on the people.
There's a no-fly zone over the hotel. Some local residents need their passports to get home, and the police had drawn up rules, including no masks or offensive slogans.
So there's the Grove Hotel up in the distance behind a security fence, and I'm here, about 500 metres away. If we cross that police tape, we'll be arrested. But amazingly, just us being allowed to be here is a major step forward for Bilderberg when it comes to openness.
It's the first time protest outside the meeting has been sanctioned. We've even been given 12 broad themes of discussion, though current affairs is pretty broad. There's even a press office and loos.
I would say you're the kind of conspiracy theorist that people would expect to be here.
Yes, well, we get labelled conspiracy theorists, but of course conspiracies are real. You know, people do conspire to do things. And
so you believe 9/11 was an inside job?
I certainly do, yes, and I believe that I can prove it in a court of law.
So here it is, we've got it. It's taken 59 years, but this is the full list of attendees at this year's Bilderberg conference. It's fruitful for conspiracy theorists. It is a very white, very male roll call of the world's biggest bankers, financial giants, corporate giants, and some Western politicians. The question, of course, is it the list of names in a secret government?
So who's been given a place at the top secret top table? George Osborne, the Chancellor, is on the list, but so's his opposite number Ed Balls. Tech giants like Jeff Bezos of Amazon and Eric Schmidt of Google get an invite, though they're unlikely to be grilled on their tax affairs. Amongst representatives from high finance, Douglas Flint of HSBC and Peter Sutherland of Goldman Sachs, the conspiracy theorist's favourite bank.
There have to be opportunities, do there not, where people can have completely off-the-record, frank discussions about things?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just hope that the discussions between Goldman Sachs and BP and Nestle and Novartis and KKR and George Osborne are fruitful for me and for the public, because that's presumably what those fellows are really fighting for. They're really fighting for my corner.
The protesters aren't going away, and for as long as Bilderberg and its powerful members refuse to tell them what they're up to, there's a vacuum which every conspiracy theory will seek to fill.
Well, I'm joined now from New York by the journalist and author Ron Ronson, whose book, Them, investigates the Bilderberg group. Did you find them as sinister as those protesters outside the meeting?
Well, they chased me all around Portugal when I tried to infiltrate their meeting. They sent their security guards to to follow me everywhere for a couple of days. And in fact, when I phoned up the British Embassy, because I was completely freaked out, and I phoned up the British Embassy to say I was being followed by the Bilderberg Group, they called the Bilderberg Group and then denied they were following me, as their guy was like behind the tree looking at me. So that was, you know, terrifying, having never been chased by the shadowy henchmen of the secret rulers of the world before. But whether they're genuinely sinister or whether they're just feeding into my paranoid delusion is a different matter.
Yeah, I mean, people who've been to those meetings, you know, Dennis Healey, you know, and others who've spoken say, look, they're just, you know, people talking about the world, you know, with a perfectly honourable aim. I mean, what impression did you get of what the real point of this organisation is?
I think they were set up for honourable reasons. They were set up, you know, just after the Second World War, and I think the thing that they were fighting against was over ideological politicians, which was obviously the big deal back then. They thought that business would be more rational. This isn't coming from me, this is coming from Bilderberg, as I spoke to. So they were set up as a way of sort of thwarting. If you could have an international community, it would thwart future Hitlers, and politics should be in the hands of business as much as it is in the hands of politics. So that was the initial agenda. Which, you know, back then I think probably seemed like a really, you know, sensible idea.
Secrecy, though, seems to be their problem now, isn't it? And that's something about the times we live in as well. People just don't like secrecy.
Yeah, I think they're sort of old-fashioned in that way. I asked Lord Owen, who was a Bilderberger, you know, why they were so secret. And he said it was all because of Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger sort of loved that culture of secrecy, and he was around right from the very beginning. And it's true, these days, you know, when I was investigating Bilderberg maybe about sort of 10, 15 years ago, the only people who were interested in them were like people on the far right or the far left, you know, conspiracy theorists. And now, you know, people are sort of they're more interested, and they're doing little bits to become a little bit less secretive. I think they can see that their secretiveness is kind of old-fashioned. So they've set up a website and they release a list of attendees, and they don't deny existing like they used to. So they're doing a little bit, but you're right, the culture's changed, and Bilderberg are seeing more anachronistic now to a mainstream.
Did you ever work out how people are invited? I mean, why is Ed Balls a member? Why is George Osborne a member? I mean, who picks them?
There's a steering committee every year, and the steering committee goes to whichever country is hosting the event that year. So the British steering committee has been, over the years, Martin Taylor, who was the head of Barclays and the head of W.H. Smith, Lord Healey, and they're looking for up-and-coming politicians to offer them wise words, and the wise words tend to be about globalism. All this came from Dennis Healey when I interviewed him. So, and they're good at it. You know, Margaret Thatcher went to Bilderberg a few years before she became Prime Minister, and in fact the story goes about her was that she was kind of very quiet and mouse-like, and everybody was disappointed in her, and so somebody had a word with her, and then the next day she kind of got up and gave a big powerful speech, and everyone was so impressed they flew her to New York, and you know, she drove around in limos meeting David Rockefeller. Tony Blair went in '93. And Bill Clinton went before he was president. So they're good at it. They're good at spotting who the next president and prime minister is, which of course makes conspiracy theorists think, well, they're the ones who are choosing the next president and prime minister. But if only the world were that, you know, easy to control.
Ron Ronson, thank you very much indeed.